Well, happy Tuesday. That means it's time for this week's video. Get ready. I just recorded the entire video and it didn't record. It's not there. So anyway, let me tell you what I recorded. It was about an email I got this morning. It's a follow-up to an email that I did a video on a week ago called Think a Little Further. We got the email from Wayne Card in Ontario, Canada. He was asking us about Steve McVey, whether we knew anything about him, and we do. And so I did a video about him. And so anyway, Wayne has since bought Steve McVey's book, and he has read it, and so he sent me a follow-up email this morning, and to let me know what he read in the book. And I will paraphrase, or I will summarize part of his email to me this morning. And he says that he read the book, and the first 7 chapters sound like Steve actually learned at the feet of Mike Williams' teachings himself. And then, but after chapter 7, then the book takes a terrible twist and goes downhill, because Steve McVey is still holding on to some semblance of accepting or believing in Jesus Christ or the gospel, and he's holding on to a concept of hell without using the word hell. And he says that while in this hell, these unbelievers or rejectors, they are surrounded by the love of God. And it's very similar to what Rob Bell says in his book, Love Wins, that because Rob Bell says in his book that grace is for all, and that everybody eventually is saved. Yeah, that's pretty much how he puts it. But some people do end up in hell. But in hell, they are surrounded by and cannot escape the love of God. Because Rob Bell believes you still have to say yes to God. He says you have to say yes to God's love. And because Rob Bell really can't get over the accepting and believing thing himself. And he can't get away from the hell that's in the Christian paradigm that's not even biblical. And so Rob Bell is holding on to some some aspects of his former paradigm of traditional Christianity. And I explained all that in that video, and you can go back to that. I did that three videos ago. So anyway, Steve McVey is also on this. If somebody is an unbeliever or a rejecter of the gospel, then they end up in some place like a hell, without using the word hell, and they're surrounded by God's love. Very, very similar to Rob Bell. And it's a shame, because people can't let go of us having to accept or believe. We have to do something on our part for God to make good on the deal of our salvation. And that is not the gospel of peace and grace. The gospel of peace and grace is merely and absolutely a declaration that all are approved by God, all are accepted by God, all have received eternal life by God, and that's the end of it. And that was by the work of Jesus Christ at the cross. So let me get to the final question here in his email. And it says, anyway, Jeff, after having read this book, I appreciate how far Steve has come in his personal grace path, and he just needs to overcome this hell hurdle. My question to you, though, is what does the gospel revolution teach about those who are redeemed and don't know it, either hear about it in this life and reject it, or after death hear about it for the first time and still reject it? I don't think I've ever heard Mike or anyone else talk about this. Now, Mike and I have both, I in my videos, Mike in the Powercast, we have mentioned things briefly at different times about the afterlife, and we have something to say, but we don't have a lot to say, and we explain why. So, because this to continue with Wayne's question, what is the gospel revolution's stance on perpetual unbelievers, if that is even possible? Any thoughts you might have about these possible recalcitrant unbelievers would be appreciated. This is a question that, in a way, is also based on the old Christian paradigm, or even these teachings from Rob Bell and everything else, that the acceptance or the belief in Jesus Christ and or the gospel in this life or the next life, that's somehow even a possibility. And what I want to tell you is, first of all, God made believing totally irrelevant. Belief is totally irrelevant. Paul said so in Romans chapter 11. The only relevance believing had was God purposely made sure nobody believed so that he could have mercy upon all, thus making believing forever irrelevant. But another thing I thought of when I was reading these questions about believing, it's like, do I believe the gospel? Yes. But even my belief in the gospel, or the fact that I believe the gospel, that is insignificant to me, because I know the gospel is true. I know it's true. And I'm reminded of what Paul said in 1 Corinthians chapter 13, when he said that he would know him as he was fully known. So I know that the gospel is true. I know Jesus Christ. I know that I have eternal life. I know that when I die, when I physically die, I will continue to live. The only thing that's going to change is the scenery. Can I describe that scenery to you? I can't describe what I don't know. The point being is, in the afterlife, when this body ends, I will know what I just don't know now. What I do know now is that I will continue on in eternal life, righteous in eternal life. And so will everybody else. And everybody will know what they don't know. And believing what they know after that, or not believing what they know, is not even a question. It's really not a question. This is an unnecessary question. I mean, I understand how Wayne is coming to this question, but it's not a question that the gospel begs. The fundamental paradigm of this gospel, of all are redeemed, whether they know it or believe it or not, and that all have eternal life, whether they know it or believe it or not, it makes a question about what people believe or accept or reject in the afterlife irrelevant. It is a truth. It's a truth now, whether they know it, believe it, or accept it, and it will be a truth to them then. And they will know what they don't know now. What they do or do not believe is not even a question. It really is not a question. I know it's a question in the old Christian paradigm, and I know it's a hanger-on for people like Steve McVey and Rob Bell and many others. But in the light of the gospel of grace and peace and the redemption of all, it is a non-issue and really is not a question. Sorry, I'm trying to find my controls here. And I know that is revolutionary. Have a revolutionary week.